Well, hello there. I know we're late, and guess what? We're going to be later because I'm eating. And it's really good. So, you guys can listen to the music while I eat a little bit of naan bread and some. I think this is butter chicken. I can't remember. Hi, Raleigh Jones. How's your family, Raleigh? I'm trying to eat quick because I realize that you guys can probably just hear me chewing. And I'm sure that's not great. It's actually leftovers from the other night I made curry. I'm trying to eat the shit in my refrigerator before I make more shit. Damn it, I'm full. You hate that? When you have something that tastes really good and you're like, man, I really want to keep eating this because I want the flavor in my mouth, but I'm full. And I'm not one of those people that's going to like chew it up and spit it out. Just so I can have the flavor. Really? That's pretty fucking cool. I actually have I had one of those what is the thingamadigger? The like the vacuum seal bags. I had one of those. It was a wedding present. And God bless it. It lived for like 15 years. And then it just like the motor in it burned out. It wouldn't seal it anymore. It would like start to seal it. It would vacuum all the air out of it. And then it would start to seal it. And like it wouldn't get hot. Like it would run out of juice. It would just be like halfway across. And so half of the bag would be sealed, but there'd be like a little bubble that okay, that was last bite. Can't eat anymore. Okay, I have to have one more little piece of naan bread. Okay, I love naan bread. Chicken spaghetti? I don't know about that. I like ground turkey and I like ground chicken in certain things. I'll eat a turkey burger for sure. But I don't know about putting it in the sketty. I'll even make like turkey chili, but I don't put it in the sketty. All right, let me go get my book, and I'll be right back. I got it. It's dusty. It's been a while since I read this. Cheesy chicken spaghetti? That's not spaghetti. Oh my God. No, no. All right, let's get high. Is this all the light that I have? Oh. Mm. Okay, so here's the deal. I had some dental work done yesterday, and I didn't think about that earlier when I scheduled this live because my mouth felt all right, but I talk all day long on the phone for a living, so I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm going to read for as long as I can. I probably will not read the whole book, although it's not very long. I'm going to try to read at least a couple of chapters, but we'll see how far we get. We'll see how long my fucking jaw. Oh God. I hate Novocaine too. I hate that stuff. It always makes me sick to my stomach. It just makes me feel rotten. Time to get high before I read Mark Twain. All right, so let me tell you about this book. Okay. So here's the deal. Mark Twain wrote this book. Let's see. Mark Twain lived in what was it, the late 1800s, early 1900s, and thereon. I think he was born. Not really sure. I bet it'll tell me on the back of this book, though. Born during Halley's Comet, 1835 appearance. So he's born and he died in 1910, which was subsequently the next time that Halley's Comet was in the sky. And I don't know if y'all watch the skies or you follow any kind of meteorological events, but this year on my birthday, Halley's Comet was visible in the sky. So I actually, in my lifetime, got to see Halley's Comet. That's right, Shan. That's right. That's what that teaching lady taught us in the schoolhouse too. When we learned about Mark Twain, when we got ready to read Tom Sawyer. But Yeah, that teaching lady told us that. But yeah, man, I got to see Haley's comment on my birthday this year. That was pretty cool. Um, Anywho, I wouldn't make that in my Raleigh Jones. Nobody likes your chicken spaghetti idea. She had spaghetti else. um, I can't. Oh my god. Probably gonna kill me before I ever get started. Okay, so back to Mark Twain, which is a nom de plume, otherwise known as Samuel Clemens. What's his real name? Um, at some point around the turn of the century, when he started, this was one of his earlier works. He wrote a story called The Mysterious Stranger, and it was about a group of little boys. It's one boy that tells the story, but it is about a group of little boys. And when I say little boys, I think they're like teenage age in the story, but or maybe a little bit younger than that, adolescent. But they meet a mysterious stranger. It's another young man comes to town and makes their acquaintanceship, and it turns out that he's actually the devil. And the devil teaches them about the devil, as one of their friends, teaches them about manipulation and humanity. It was not a very popular book. In fact, a lot of people were like, oh my God, no, he did not. He wrote about the devil. He wrote about little boys making friends with the devil, and it's not a bad book. No, crazy. Crazy. At the time, people were like, oh my God, crucify this man. So, not very many copies of the book were ever printed. It wasn't until after his death that the book became even remotely known or circulated at all. And even still today, you can barely find a copy on Amazon. Oh, that's cool. I wish Mark Twain is one of those people like, who would you like to meet? Anybody dead or alive? I don't know if I only had one pick that it would be him, but if somebody gave me like 10 choices, or maybe like 6 or 7, he would be on that list. Edgar Casey, that's a good one. I would meet Reagan. I'd meet Ronald Reagan. Reagan administration era. If I had to pick, a time frame when I could meet Reagan, it would be that one. All right, y'all, let's get down to business. And I don't know about y'all, but I can't read with music on unless it's like tranquility music. So let me get some healing vibes. Okay. Oh God, I can never find those channels. Mm. All right, go slow, Janice. Look, look, look for it. Focus, focus. Uh, uh, uh. Well, dang. Okay. How about some? Here we go. Oh, I'm like, what is wrong with this? It's on a different playback speed. Okay, here we go. The Mysterious Stranger by Mark Twain. Chapter 1. That's too loud. Okay. It was in 1950, winter. Austria was far away from the world and asleep. It was still the Middle Ages in Austria and promised to remain so forever. Some even set it away back centuries upon centuries and said that by the mental and spiritual clock, it was still the age of belief in Austria. But they meant it as a compliment, not a slur, and it was so taken. And we were all proud of it. I remember it well, although I was only a boy. And I remember, too, the pleasure it gave me. Yes, Austria was far from the world and asleep, and our village was in the middle of that sleep, being in the middle of Austria. It drowsed in peace in the deep privacy of a hill and woodsy solitude where news from the world hardly ever came to disturb its dreams, and was infinitely content. At its front flowed the tranquil river, its source painted with cloud forms and the reflections of drifting art and stone boats. Behind it rose the woody steps to the base of the lofty precipice. From the top of the precipice frowned a vast castle, its long stretch of towers and bastions mailed in vines. Beyond the river, a league to the left, was a tumbled expanse of forest-clothed hills cloven by winding gorges where the sun never penetrated, and to the right, a precipice overlooked the river, and between it the hills just spoke of lay a far-reaching plain dotted with little homesteads nested among orchards and shade trees. The whole region for leagues around was the hereditary property of a prince. Those servants kept the castle always in perfect condition for occupancy, but neither he nor his family came there oftener than once in 5 years. When they came, it was as if the Lord of the world had arrived and had brought all the glories of its kingdom along. And when they went, they left a calm behind which was like the deep sleep which follows an orgy. Esseldorf was a paradise for us boys. We were not overmuch pestered with schooling. Mainly, we were trained to be good Christians, to revere the Virgin, the Church, and the saints above everything. Beyond these matters, We were not required to know much, and in fact, not allowed to. Knowledge was not good for the common people and could make them discontented with the lot which God had appointed for them. And God would not endure discontentment with his plans. We had two priests. One of them, Father Adolf, was a very zealous and strenuous priest, much considered. There may have been better priests in some ways than Father Adolf, but there was never one in our commune who was held in more solemn and awful respect. This was because he had absolutely no fear of the devil. He was the only Christian I have ever known of whom that could be truly said. People stood in deep dread of him on that account, for they thought that there must be something supernatural about him. Else he could not be so bold and so confident. All men speak in bitter disapproval of the devil, but they do it reverently, not flippantly. But Father Adolph's way was very different. He called him by every name he could lay his tongue to, and it made everyone shudder that heard him. And often he would even speak of him scornfully and scoffingly. Then the people crossed themselves and went quickly out of his presence, fearing that something fearful might happen. Brutally felonious. I need a snack. Oh shit, I forgot where it was. Damn it. Father Adolf had actually met Satan face to face more than once and defied him. This was known to be so. Father Adolf said it himself. He never made any secret of it, but spoke it right out. And that he was speaking truth, there was proof in at least one instance, for on that occasion he quarreled with the enemy and intrepidly threw his bottle at him. And there upon the wall of his study was the ruddy splotch where it struck and broke. But it was Father Peter, the other priest, that we all loved best and were sorriest for. Some people charged him with talking around in conversation with that God was all goodness and would find a way to save all his human children. It was a horrible thing to say, but there was never any absolute proof that Father Peter said it. And it was out of character for him to say it too, for he was always good and gentle and truthful. He wasn't charged with saying it in the pulpit where all the congregation could hear and testify, but only outside and talk. And it is easy for enemies to manufacture that. Father Peter had an enemy, and a very powerful one. The astrologer who lived in a tumbled old tower up the valley, and put in his nights studying the stars. Everyone knew he could foretell wars and famines, though that was so hard, for there was always a war and generally a famine somewhere. But he could also read any man's life through the stars in a big book he had, and find lost property, and everyone in the village except Father Peter stood in awe of him. Even Father Adolf, who had defied the devil, had a wholesome respect for the astrologer when he came through our village wearing his tall pointed hat and his long flowing robe with stars on it, carrying his book and a staff which was known to have magic power. The bishop himself sometimes listened to the astrologer, it was said, for besides studying the stars and prophesying, the astrologer made a great show of piety, which would impress the bishop, of course. But Father Peter took no stock in the astrologer. He denounced him openly as a charlatan, a fraud, with no valuable knowledge of any kind, or powers beyond those of any of an ordinary, or rather inferior human being, which naturally made the astrologer hate Father Peter and wish to ruin him. It was the astrologer, as we all believed, who originated the story about Father Peter's shocking remark and carried it to the bishop. It was said that Father Peter had made the remark to his niece, Margaret, though Margaret denied it and implored the bishop to believe her and spare her old uncle from poverty and disgrace. But the bishop wouldn't listen. He suspended Father Peter indefinitely, though he wouldn't go so far as to excommunicate him on the evidence of only one witness. And now Father Peter had been out a couple of years, and our other priest, Father Adolf, had his flock. Those had been hard years for the old priests and Margaret. They had been favorites, but of course that changed when they came under the shadow of the bishop's frown. Many of their friends fell away entirely, and the rest became cool and distant. Margaret was a lovely girl of 18 when the trouble came, and she had the best head in the village and the most in it. She taught the harp and learned and earned all her clothes and pocket money by her own industry. But her scholars fell off one by one. Now she was forgotten when there were dances and parties among the youth of the village. The young fellows stopped coming to the house, all except Willem Medling. Shit. And he could have been spared. She and her uncle were sad and forlorn in their neglect and disgrace. The sunshine was gone out of their lives. Matters went worse and worse all through the 2 years. Clothes were wearing out. Bread was harder and harder to get. And now, at last, the very end was come. Solomon Isaacs had lent all the money he was willing to put on the house and gave notice that tomorrow he would foreclose. Shit. If I'm going to make this a regular thing, I'm going to have to get some brighter light. I'm not going to turn my cam on, Eddie. So you don't need to see me cammed up to hear me read. Maybe I'll get a mask one of these days. Did you listen to the link? No, I didn't. I was going to listen to it, and then I went on living my life and forgot about it. Sorry. You can drop it again, though. Probably some 800-pound woman in a bikini, like most of the other links that you post in my chat. Okay, so that was one chapter. Let's see how long the next chapter is. Well, okay. I'll try. I know your links, Eddie. I remember your links. Those are not false accusations. Okay, chapter 2. 3 of us boys were always together, and had been so from the cradle, being fond of one another from the beginning. And this affection deepened as the years went on. Nicholas Baumann, son of the principal judge of the local court, Seppi Wallmeyer, son of the keeper of the principal inn, the Golden Stag, which had been a nice garden with shade trees reaching down to the riverside and pleasure boats for hire, and I was the third, Theodore Fisher, son of the church organist, who was also leader of the village musicians, teacher of the violin, composer, tax collector of the commune, sexton, and in other ways a useful citizen, and respected by all. We knew the hills and woods as well as the birds knew them, for we were always roaming them when we had leisure, at least when we were not swimming or boating or fishing or playing on the ice or sliding down the hill. And we had the run of the castle park, and very few had that. It was because we were pets of the oldest serving man in the castle, Felix Brandt. And often we went there nights to hear him talk about old times and strange things, and to smoke with him. He taught us that, and to drink coffee, for he had served in the wars and was at the siege of Vienna. And there, when the Turks had defeated and driven away, among the captured things were bags of coffee. And the Turkish prisoners explained the character of it and how to make a pleasant drink out of it. And now he always kept coffee by him, to drink himself and to astonish the ignorant with. When it stormed, he kept us all night, and while it thundered and lightened outside, he told us about ghosts and horrors of every kind, and of battles and murders and mutilations and such things, and made it pleasant and cozy inside. And he told these things from his own expert largely. He had seen many ghosts in his time, and witches, and encounters. And once he was lost in a fierce storm at midnight in the mountains, and by the glare of the lightning had seen the wild huntsman rage on the blasts, with his specter dogs chasing after him through the driving cloud rack. Also, he had seen an incubus once, and several times he had seen the great bat that sucks the blood from the necks of people while they are asleep, fanning them softly with its wings, and so keeping them drowsy till they die. Okay, I have to hang on a second. What the? I need to put some re-wetting drops on my conduct. Mm. Okay. Oh, my eyeballs feel better. No. Okay. He encouraged us not to fear supernatural things, such as ghosts, and said they did no harm, but only wandered about because they were lonely and distressed and wanted kindly notice and compassion. And in time we learned not to be afraid. and even went down with him in the night to the haunted chamber in the dungeons of the castle. The ghost appeared only once, and it went by very dim to the sight and floated noiseless through the air, and then disappeared, and we scarcely trembled. He had taught us so well. He said it came up sometimes in the night and woke him by passing its clammy hand over his face, but it did him no hurt. It only wanted sympathy and notice. But the strangest thing was that he had seen angels, actual angels out of heaven, and had talked with them. They had no wings and wore clothes, and talked and looked and acted just like any natural person. And you would never know them for angels except for the wonderful things they did, which a mortal could not do. And the way they suddenly disappeared while you were talking to them, which was also a thing which no mortal could do. And he said they were pleasant and cheerful, not gloomy and melancholy like ghosts. It was after that kind of talk one May night that we got up next morning and had a good breakfast with him, and then went down and crossed the bridge and went away up into the hills on the left to a woody hilltop, which was a favorite place of ours. And there we stretched out on the grass in the shade to rest and smoke and talk over these things, these strange things. Damn it, my eyeballs. For they were in our minds yet and impressing us. But we couldn't smoke because we had been heedless and left our flint and steel behind. Soon there came a youth strolling toward us through the trees, and he sat and began to talk in a friendly way, just as if he knew us. But we did not answer him, for he was a stranger, and we were not used to strangers and were shy of them. He had new and good clothes on, and was handsome, and had a winning face and a pleasant voice, and was easy and graceful and unembarrassed, not slouchy and awkward and diffident like other boys. We wanted to be friendly with him, but didn't know how to begin. Then I thought of the pipe and wondered if it would be taken as kindly meant if I offered it to him. But I remembered that we had no fire. So I was sorry and disappointed. But he looked up bright and pleased and said, "Fire? Oh, that is easy. I will furnish it." Eyeballs hurt. I was so astonished I couldn't speak, for I had not said anything. He took the pipe and blew his breath on it, and the tobacco glowed red, and spirals of blue smoke rose up. We jumped up and were going to run, for that was natural. And we did run a few steps, although he was yearningly pleading for us to stay, and giving us his word that he would not do us any harm, but only wanted to be friends with us and have company. So we stopped and stood and wanted to go back, being full of curiosity and wonder, but afraid to venture. He went on coaxing in his soft, persuasive way, and when we saw that the pipe did not blow up and nothing happened, our confidence returned by little and little, and presently our curiosity got to be stronger than our fear, and we ventured back, but slowly and ready to fly at any alarm. He was bent on putting us at ease, and he had the right art. One could not remain doubtful and timorous where a person was so earnest and simple and gentle, and talked so alluringly as he did. No, he won us over. And it was not long before we were content and comfortable and chatty and glad we had found this new friend. When the feeling of constraint was all gone, we asked him how he had learned to do that strange thing. And he said he hadn't learned it at all. It came natural to him, like other things, other curious things. What ones? Oh, a number. I don't know how many. Will you let us see you do them? Do, please, the other said. You won't run away again? No, indeed we won't. Please do, won't you? Yes, with pleasure. But you mustn't forget your promise, you know. We said we wouldn't, and we went to a puddle and came back with water in a cup, which he had made out of a leaf, and blew upon it and threw it out. And it was a lump of ice, the shape of the cup. We were astonished and charmed, but not afraid any more. We were very glad to be there, and asked him to go on and do some more things. And he did. He said he would give us any kind of fruit we liked, whether it was in season or not. We all spoke at once. Orange, apple, grapes. They are in your pockets, he said, and it was true. And they were of the best, too. We ate them and wished we had more, though none of us said so. You will find them where those came from, he said, and everything else your appetites call for. You need not name the thing you wish. As long as I am with you, you have only to wish and find. And he said true. There was never anything so wonderful and so interesting. Bread, cakes, sweets, nuts, whatever we wanted. It was there. He ate nothing himself, but sat and chatted and did one curious thing after another to amuse us. He made a tiny toy squirrel out of clay, and it ran up a tree and sat on a limb overhead and barked down at us. Then he made a dog that was not much larger than a mouse, and it treed the squirrel and danced around the tree, excited and barking, and was as alive as any dog could be. It frightened the squirrel from tree to tree and followed it up until both were out of sight in the forest. We had birds out of clay and set them free, and they flew away singing. At last I made bold to ask him to tell us who he was. An angel, he said, quite simply, and set another bird free and clapped his hands, and away it flew. A kind of awe fell upon us when we heard him say that, and we were afraid again. But he said we need not be troubled. There was no occasion for us to be afraid of an angel, and he liked us anyway. He went on chatting as simply and unaffectedly as ever, and while he talked, he made a crowd of little men and women the size of your finger, and they went diligently to work and cleared and leveled off a space a couple of yards square in the grass and began to build a cunning little castle in it, the women mixing the mortar and carrying it up the scaffoldings in pails on their heads, just as workwomen have always done, and the men laying the courses of masonry, 500 of these toy people, swarming briskly about and working diligently and wiping the sweat off their faces as natural as life. In the absorbing interest of watching those 500 little people make the castle grow step by step and course by course and take shape and symmetry, That feeling and awe soon passed away, and we were quite comfortable and at home again. We asked if we might make some people, and he said yes, and told Seppi to make some cannon for the walls, and told Nicholas to make some halberdiers with the breastplates and greaves and helmets, and I was to make some cavalry with horses. And in allotting these tasks, he called us by our names, but we did not say how he knew them. Then Seppi asked him what his own name was, and he said tranquilly, Satan, and held out a chip and caught a little woman on it who was falling from the scaffolding and put her back where she belonged, and said she was an idiot to step backward like that and not notice what she was about. Okay, I have to pause. Again, and I appreciate the all one of you that are watching. This is not about numbers. This is something that I do for me. This is what I enjoy. I wanted to do it. Now I am. Oh, that's blood. Okay. It caught us suddenly, that name did, and our works dropped out of our hands and broke to pieces. A cannon, a halberdier, and a horse. Satan laughed and asked what was the matter. I said nothing, only it seemed a strange name for an angel. He asked why. Because well, it's his name, you know. Yes, he is my uncle. He said it placidly, but it took our breath for a moment and made our hearts beat. He did not seem to notice that, but mended our halberdiers and things with a touch, handing them to us finished, and said, Don't you remember? He was an angel himself once. Yes, it's true, said Seppi. I didn't think of that. Before the fall, he was blameless. Yes, said Nicholas. He was without sin. It is a good family, ours, said Satan. There is not a better. He is the only member of it that has ever sinned. I swear to God. Do they make you know, those like beer helmets, you know, that you put beers in and it's got the little sippy straw and you just kind of like suck on it all day long? Do they make one of those for my eyeballs with some re-wetting drops? They're so dry. I should not be able to make anyone understand how exciting it all was. You know, that kind of quiver that trembles around through you when you are seeing something so strange and enchanting and wonderful that is just a fearful joy to be alive and look at it. And you know how you gaze and your lips turn dry and your breath comes short, but you wouldn't be anywhere but there. Not for the world. I was bursting to ask one question. I had it on my tongue's end and could hardly hold it back. But I was ashamed to ask it. It might be a rudeness. Satan set an ox down that he had been making and smiled up at me and said, It wouldn't be a rudeness. I should forgive it if it was. Have I seen him? Millions of times. From the time that I was a little child, 1,000 years old, I was his second favorite among the nursery angels of our blood and lineage. To use a human phrase, yes, from that time until the fall, 8,000 years, measured as you count time. 8,000? Yes. He turned to Seppi and went on as if answering something that was in Seppi's mind. Why, naturally, I look like a boy, for that is what I am. With you, what you call time is a spacious thing. It makes a long stretch of it to grow. It takes a long stretch of it to grow an angel to full age. There was a question in my mind, and he turned to me and answered it. I am 16,000 years old, counting as you count. When he turned to Nicholas and said, no, the fall did not affect me, nor the rest of the relationship. It was only he that I was named for, who ate of the fruit of the tree, and then beguiled the man and the woman with it. We others are still ignorant of sin. We are not able to commit it. We are without blemish, and shall abide in that estate always. We, two of the little workmen, were quarreling, and in buzzing little bumblebee voices, they were cursing and swearing at each other. Now came blows and blood. Then they locked themselves together in a life and death struggle. Satan reached out his hand and crushed the life out of them with his fingers, threw them away, wiped the red from his fingers on his handkerchief, and went on talking where he had left off. We cannot do wrong, neither have we any disposition to do it, for we do not know what it is. It seemed a strange speech in the circumstances, but we barely noticed that. We were so shocked and grieved at the wanton murder he had committed, for murder it was, that was its true name, and it was without patulation or excuse, for the men had not wronged him in any way. It made us miserable, for we loved him, and we thought him so noble and so beautiful and so gracious, and had honestly believed he was an angel. And to have him do this cruel thing, it lowered him so. And we had such pride in him. He went right on talking just as if nothing had happened, telling about his travels and the interesting things he had seen in the big worlds of our solar system and of other solar systems far away in the remoteness of space, and about the customs of the immortals that inhabit them, somehow fascinating us, enchanting us, charming us in spite of the pitiful scene that was now under our eyes. For the wives of the little dead men had found the crushed and shapeless bodies, and were crying over them and sobbing and lamenting. And a priest was kneeling there with his hands crossed upon his breast, praying, and crowds of pitying friends were massed about them, reverently uncovered, with their bare heads bowed, and many with the tears running down, a scene which Satan paid no attention to until the small noise of the weeping and praying began to annoy him. Then he reached out and took the heavy board seat out of our swing and brought it down and mashed all those people into the earth just as if they had been flies, and went on talking just the same, an angel, and kill a priest. An angel who did not know how to do wrong and yet destroys in cold blood hundreds of helpless, poor men and women who had never done him any harm. It made us sick to see that awful deed, and to think that none of those poor creatures was prepared except the priests, for none of them had ever heard a mass or seen a church. And we were witnesses. We had seen these murders done, and it was our duty to tell and let the law take its course. Oh God. I need hydration. But he went on talking right along and worked his enchantments upon us again with that fatal music of his voice. He made us forget everything. We could only listen to him and love him and be his slaves and do with us as he would. He made us drunk with the joy of being with him and of looking into the heaven of his eyes and of feeling the ecstasy that thrilled along our veins from the touch of his hand. All right, that's 2 chapters. That's going to be it for tonight. Let's see. What is tonight? Tuesday night? I will try to Uh-oh, Eddie. Spooky caught you again. I will try to do another 2 chapters on Thursday. If not, then we will definitely reconvene next Tuesday night and I'll do another. Yeah, Jan and the holograms. I wish it said Jan. It does still say Gem, but I was thinking, I was laying in bed thinking about that the other night, just looking at shit on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, I remember Jim and the holograms. I know what I'm doing for Halloween next year. So, well, I guess technically this year. So, but yeah, if not Thursday, then we'll make this an every Tuesday night thing. Until we finish the book. Maybe next time I can read more than 2 chapters. Like I said, my mouth is still kind of sore from getting my teeth worked on. So, thanks, Spooky. I appreciate it. It's actually, I started doing it. It's a character in a book. Her name is Dulcie, and she is a punk rock angel with pink hair and spray painted black wings. And she comes to this kid who has mad cow disease, and she tells him that she can help him find the cure for mad cow disease, but he's got to go on a journey. And so they go on this journey, and I'm not going to tell you how the book ends, but Dulcie is his best friend through the whole book. The punk rock angel with the pink hair. So, you know what? That turns out to be pretty good. An hour. That was 2 chapters. I did 2 chapters in an hour. We could do an hour twice a week. I'm gonna finish the book. I like reading out loud. It's actually good for you. It helps improve hand-eye coordination, motor function, and brain function, speech patterns, lots of things. I used to read out loud a lot. So, Dr. Be Right Back, the clown groups. I hope you're doing all right, Spooky. So yeah, we'll go to about 5 after and have a little wrap up. And so, what do you think about the first 2 chapters? Blows your mind, huh? Somebody was writing this in the 1800s. Y'all don't even know, man. They would have this. That was that was time. That was back when they didn't even have the radio at that point, right? So it was basically all you had for entertainment was the, the Bible and church. So you know, writing about meeting the devil is kind of risque. Charlie's Girl. I'm a member of the TST. um, I mean, I guess you're, I guess you're welcome here. It's not really about that. I actually am a Mormon, so, um, but sure, you're always welcome to chat. You're attracting weird. I know. I figured it would grab some people's attention. Well, I mean, that's not the cover of this book, but I did an online search for, although the cover of this book is it's an old wizard. It's a it's an illustration of the wizard that he's, or not the wizard, but the astrologer that he talks about in the first chapter, the astrologer that lives in the village. Um and so those are going to end up being all the main characters. So the priest, Adolf, Father Peter, and the astrologer. So on the cover of this book, there is an illustration of the astrologer. However, when I did an online search to get a picture for the thumbnail, that was a cover of a copy that had turned up. So that was what I chose. Yeah, it was. It's a weird one, JT. It's a weird one. But it's good, you know. It's good. It taught me a lot. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I read a book every Christmas. I read a book every Christmas. And sometimes I read a book every Christmas and I like it so much I give it the next year as a Christmas gift. To friends of mine to read. So last year, right about the time I met Ziggy, I read The Mysterious Stranger. And it prepared me for a lot. And I didn't even know. So, um, yeah, so I read that book last year. This year, I actually read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. So, yeah. The Mysterious Stranger is good, but it's one of the best books I've ever read. Thanks, Raleigh. It's actually getting ready to shut it down. I'm going to take the dog out for one last walk around the perimeter and gather up my clouder of felines. God, there's so many of them. Thank you, Raleigh. I try to be. The Mysterious Stranger definitely is. Definitely is very anti Christian. And it's, but it's very, I mean, it really, to me, it really accurately illustrates the struggle that Mark Twain had with his beliefs his entire life. With, I mean, he struggled with Christianity and his faith. So, and openly questioned it. So, I mean, it's fitting for. I think a lot of I think a lot of the thoughts about the ways that he thought came out in this book, and I think that's why it was so controversial. And there weren't very many copies printed when it was originally released. It wasn't a popular book. Everybody hated it. A little bit, a little bit. He definitely was. Definitely was. Very into Christian. JT, I'll drop the link for you if you want to come up. Other than that, I'm getting ready to end it. Like I said, get to a few things and go to bed. I don't know how y'all stay up all night. I can't do that shit. I cannot. I love to sleep. There is nothing more than I like to do than get in my bed and get comfy, maybe get myself a little bed snack, a bed appropriate snack like some popcorn, and go to sleep. Ooh, I love it. All right, on. That's cool. I'll come over there and chat. I like your gaming streams. I don't mind that. It's it's kind of annoying to me because I can't play it. But if you listen to it like it's a story, it's all right. It's fun to chat there. At least you know there's not going to be any crazy drama. At least you know. I don't like that shit. It's like I've got like, I don't know. I guess PTSD against it or something. I don't know. I just like when the drama starts kicking. It's just like, well, I don't even want to be around it. Makes me nauseous almost. Doctor, who are you, Doctor Bieber? Berber? The clown groups. I hate that. You know what, JT? You know what really pisses me off more than anything else? I hate that I can't. I don't know how other people get away with it. Other people seem to like put movies on in the background and music, and their shits don't get copyright strike. But I, I'm not going to say it. That's a trick. I said the C word followed by the O and the vids. And well, that's not all I did. I kind of went on a rant about the, I don't know what I can say. So I'm just not going to say it. But they kicked me. They shut me down for a month. They were like, you can't say that at all. And they put me in timeout for a whole month for a strike. The C with the O and the vids. The C word. No. But like I'd like to like put music on, movies in the background. Like, can you get a strike so if I put Labyrinth on and then but with no sound, just closed captioning and music, other music. Do I get a strike? I feel like I will. I feel like I will. So. No, not that C word. I say cunt all the time too. You know what I mean. No, I don't think you can actually get in trouble for saying COVIDs. It was COVIDs. COVID. I said COVID. COVID. No, but I didn't just say COVID. I went on this whole rant about my own personal beliefs, not any sort of medical opinion, but they were like, you can't give people advice if you're not a doctor, and we're going to put you in timeout for a month. And then when I went back to streaming, I was monetized at the time. And when I went back to streaming, every commercial that would play for my stream was for a vaccine, for a COVID vaccine. And I was like, you snaky, you're just rubbing my nose in it now. That's real nice. Bastards. All right. That's it for the show tonight. Thank you guys for coming and listening to me read. I know that I'm not really that great at reading out loud. It doesn't flow like it should all the time, but I'm a work in progress. I don't care. I'm doing it so I can improve, not because I always want to stay the same. So, all right, guys, have a good night. Night, JT. I'll probably see you later. Give Rain a squeeze for me. Love you guys.